Hi, everybody, and welcome to this week's Truth Be Told. Typically, I've been showing or featuring our Public Works division, all the different divisions in our Public Works department over the last more than a month. And JB has brought on different division heads that oversee each of the divisions within the Public Works department. But today has been a crazy morning for both of us, and the Assistant DPW Director, who we're going to have on the show today to talk about solid waste in our transfer stations and recycling, is unavailable. So we are lucky enough to have JB all to ourselves today. It puts a little pressure on him to do a lot of trash talking with us, but that's the way it is, and I know he can handle it. So quick word about the show. For those of you that watch, I hope that you help us spread the word. I think that this might be a nice avenue for many people to get some information about the town. But more importantly than that, it gives residents an opportunity to meet in many ways and get to know the individual division heads and others that work for the town or somehow represent or participate in our governance. So I hope that you continue to watch the show and that you tell your neighbors and friends about it. So JB, let's jump right into rubbish, because boy, since you started working here, you have helped make major changes for us in the trash and recycle industry. So tell us a little bit about the operations here.
Sure. So thanks for having me back on the show, Melissa. This is always a good time to get all our points across and tell all the viewers and people watching out there what's going on with DPW. But yeah, we've done so much in terms of solid waste disposal, transfer station operations since 2011. So, I mean, we've changed pretty much everything, but things are running pretty smoothly. It's been awfully quiet at the transfer station. We have about 3,000 customers, and it's been working smoothly. And given so much change in the trash industry over the years with recycling, the China sword, our changes in curbside pickup just to the transfer station, there's so much we could talk about. So I guess, what do you really want to focus in on? What are your thoughts for today?
So I'm a person that does not go to the transfer station. So let's talk a little bit about that first. Now, I have to tell you, one of the statistics you just threw out, because you know this so well, is the fact that there are about 3,000 customers or households in the town of Plymouth, which is huge, that are still driving down to our transfer station, and some people still call it a dump, that is still driving there. Typically once a week they head down there in South Plymouth. But we do not see those numbers growing, because many of our other customers, the residents that live in the town, do curbside pickup. Where do you see that trend going when it comes to our transfer station?
Yeah, so our transfer station has been really holding, the same number of subscriptions per year. We're hovering right around 3,000. Years ago, it was twice as much, but then we had 3 transfer stations. And again, the transfer station, it's open Friday to Tuesday, 8 to 4. It's on Beaver Dam Road. We take trash, municipal solid waste. We do recycling. We do cardboard. We separate everything. So metal, cardboard, paper, plastic. And the market's changed. We're starting to make some money again, some revenue, which really offset the cost for the ratepayers. Again, it's not subsidized by the general fund. All those 3,000 customers pay for the entire operation. We have our own employees that run the trash and the recycling. We use Covanta, which is CMAS, which is in Rochester. So we run our trash there, and we have a number of different outlets for our recycling, paper, cardboard, and glass. So we kind of shop the market and try to get the best rates in terms of what disposal costs and revenue. For example, metal is doing very well again. We're making about $250 a ton. We were making little to nothing a couple of years ago. So that market has really fluctuated. And as we manage and shop around for these prices, again, it controls our rate, and we do what's best for the ratepayers. But it's a great operation. I think, actually, I know all the residents that go there benefit. We're actually doing some work up there, some upgrades there. If you drive up there and take a look, we're doing some paving, we're doing some drainage, we're building a new house for the employees, a new shack, if you would. Everybody congregates and talks. It's kind of a social hangout there. But again, it's going pretty well. It's been pretty steady, Melissa.
I remember when you and I were going building to building, we were going to all different, anywhere people would invite us to talk about changes that we needed to make to solid waste, because we had to close down the biggest transfer station, the one in South Street. And because of that, at first there was, well, everywhere we went, there was so much resistance because change is tough, and we totally understand that. And many people did say that is just part of their weekly life. They get some social interaction from it, but we knew that that needed to change. I don't know if you know the cost of using our transfer station service off the top of your head.
Yeah, that's a good question. It is, I want to say it's about 200 and something dollars, but I can let you know in a minute. Let me just look at my.
That's okay. While you're looking that up. The other thing that people always ask us about is during certain seasons when we're all cleaning up our yards after a storm, we also are able to take from all our residents that kind of yard waste. Is that correct?
Yes, so we take yard waste and we offer loom and compost there. So we'll do for the transfer station pass holders at the transfer station, they can drop off their yard waste and get loom. We also do a more of a bigger pickup twice a year and drop off at Camelot Drive. But yeah, that's a great part of the program. We also take batteries, light bulbs, metal, and leaves and grass clippings, as we just said. So it's a really full service operation. But yeah, the residents, the town has seen tremendous change in solid waste over the years.
So if you are talking to a resident and they say, should I go to a curbside pickup program or should I pay the couple $100s and drive to South Plymouth to go to the transfer station? I think what you're saying some of the benefits is that you do take things like the light bulbs and the batteries if the person pays the couple $100s, and you also take yard waste. You can't drop off your yard waste if you haven't paid for the transfer station services.
Yeah, you can, if you are a transfer station pass holder, you can, okay? And that pass is $180 a year. Mm-hmm. And it depends on, who you are. It depends on, what you're motivated to do. I mean, as you said, Melissa, some of the residents love the transfer station. They love packing their trash up, taking it to the transfer station, when they're ready. Others, they don't want to be bothered. They like the curbside program. We have a number of haulers in Plymouth. I want to say we have a dozen. They're all registered with the Board of Health. So there's a number of residents on subscription, and those costs are all over the place. But we think that, actually, I know the $180 for the annual transfer station pass is very competitive compared to.
Well, you know what I do like about the transfer station is that it's interesting that you will take some of those harder to throw away items. And I don't see, from my personal experience at the condo I have in Plymouth, I don't really see lots of opportunity, or as many opportunities as there should be, for recycling and accepting that kind of material. Now, in saying that, I know that we do have a couple of days coming up in Plymouth that we announced in the town manager's report. One is for that electronic equipment, I guess you could call it, or electronic waste. We have a day coming up in October where residents only, will be able to dispose of. And then we also have a hazardous waste day coming up. And for people that want to know, you're cleaning out your garage, it's a good opportunity. Look at the list of materials that the town will be able to accept and where that location is. And that information is available on our website. JB, I have questions though about the other transfer station that you have, or that we have right next door to our transfer station. And that's called the Hard to Manage site. Can you tell me a little bit about that, or tell the residents about that?
Yeah, happy to. So Hard to Manage is located directly next door to Beaver Dam transfer station. And Hard to Manage is currently run by Republic Waste Services, and they take C&D, construction demolition material there. So they take up to a 6-wheeler in terms of size, and that's open to anybody. And again, the town owns the property. We leased that property out to Republic, and they've been running that since it was constructed back in, I want to say, the late 90s. And there's a great benefit to the town. Anybody doing, remodeling work, construction work can utilize that facility.
But it's a pay-as-you-go. So when they show up there, if they're getting rid of, is it okay? Like, is a refrigerator or a stove, would that go there?
Refrigerator and stove would go to Hard to Manage. They take construction demolition materials. So asphalt shingles, wood, concrete, those types of materials most, and it's paid by the ton. And
I have to tell you, for those conscientious people that care about the environment, I think it's affordable, and it certainly is the correct way to get rid of that material, because some of what we see in this town, and it's a beautiful town, and people that just dump that kind of thing in different hidden away spots, I will tell you that Plymouth takes that very seriously, and our police have done a great job in helping us determine, at least in some cases, who some of those repeat offenders are that are not disposing of that C&D material correctly. And I know, JB, your DPW crews have helped clean up some of those messes quite a bit.
Yeah, definitely. I also, Melissa, it's a good opportunity to talk about how, proactive we are in terms of managing solid waste over the years. It changes. We have the enterprise fund. We break out the schools, the town side versus the transfer station side. We're also, very, wary of what we're doing with CMAS, Covanta in terms of long-term planning for disposal. And we have very good rates. Plymouth was one of the first 16 communities that signed up with CMAS. So the facility in CMAS is Covanta. It's a waste to energy facility. And we have really good pricing. So we're paying $85 a ton now, right up to $105 a ton in 2025. So those rates are far lower than most communities are paying today. So we're very pleased with that. And that helps us control costs as well.
So one of the things in any community that you notice is when you are first able to negotiate a contract or negotiate a deal with a company, you certainly have the naysayers that come out of the woodwork and say, oh, that is such a terrible deal. I can't believe the town of Plymouth is going to pay $85, and I believe it's called a tipping fee. So for a layman like me, you figure the truck pulls in with all that rubbish, and as it's weighed and then they tip to dump it, the company, or in this case CMAS, is charging us by the ton to take all that rubbish. So, you'll have those naysayers that say, oh, $85 a ton, it's going up to 105. They negotiated a terrible deal. What are they thinking? Only to find out a year later, of course, you never hear back from those people, that Plymouth got a fantastic deal compared to so many of the communities around us. I mean, JB, do you remember when you and I started here? Wasn't the tipping fee like, God, was it like $36?
Yes, it was. It's amazing how cheap it was. So cheap.
Yeah. So even then people thought it was a terrible deal and we were doing amazing. I want to talk a little bit more about the recycling, because that's another thing that some people that criticize communities, they either say that we are not doing enough to make sure that we are selling our recycling. I guess that's the term I could use, selling our recycling, our cardboard, plastic, glass. And for a long time, I think many places were just storing it because there was nowhere for it to go. And you said in the very beginning of the show, the China effect, I think is what you called it. Can you just explain for those residents at home exactly how the recycling works and who you have on staff that's always watching the market?
Sure. So when you look at the transfer station, solid waste operations, Melissa, we have one full-time admin here at DPW at Camelot Drive that oversees that operation in terms of looking at, what we're getting for product, what we're generating for revenue, what our costs are based on the overall program. So we can shop around and see what's out there for services. So much has changed over the years in terms of where we can bring it and what those values are. The biggest impact that we've seen was most recently it was glass, where the whole glass market has really, bottomed out. It's difficult to get rid of it. So right now we bring it to Chris County in Rainham, and that costs us $80 a ton. We used to make significant amount of money on glass. That's changed. Same thing with plastic. All the plastic 1 through 7s costs us about $150 a ton to get rid of. We used to make money on the plastic. Everything else we make money on, the metal, the paper, the cardboard, the newspaper, and the mixed paper, we're generating revenue. So all of those are looked at by the week in terms of the operation to see how much money comes in and goes out depending on the type of product. We have 2.5 attendants at the transfer station and 2.5 roll-off drivers. So those drivers are constantly, moving materials around, bringing them to either Covanta or to Miller Recycling, where we get rid of our paper and cardboard. And they're moving cans from the schools, the fire stations, all the municipal buildings, because we're unloading those materials as well. The most interesting thing that I think we've seen since we changed the program was the bags, the pay-as-you-throw bags, because Plymouth, back in the 2009-10 era, we looked at the bag program. We didn't implement it until 2012, 2013, when our recycling rates were very low. The bags are costing us money, but what they're doing is they're the driver behind the recycling, because people are paying for the bags, which is the motivator behind the recycling. The problem we're seeing now is the bag prices are starting to come up that are making that not as competitive as it used to be. So that's something we're going to be really taking a hard look at this year, me, you and Lynn, when we go to set rates in the spring, next spring, because the cost of the bags have reached a point where it doesn't make sense to pay for those bags because it's as much as the recycling is. So that's something a lot of towns are struggling with that are on a pay-as-you-throw program.
You know, certainly just our reaction for a long time has been out of convenience. We would love to see the bags go, but we don't, we'd love to see an opportunity to still be able to run this program successfully, but people don't have to go buy special, what are they, orange now? They were purple for a while. They don't have to buy the special bags. However, we want to keep encouraging people to recycle. And that was also our way of giving a senior discount.
Correct.
Typically, the senior citizen generates less rubbish, so they have to buy fewer bags. So that is a inherent way within a built-in way within the program to give that senior discount. So you're right. I know that this select board is looking at finding ways to offer seniors in our community discounts in a variety of areas. So maybe there's a switch that we can make this year as we look at the program.
You're right, Melissa. We'll have to really dive into that because it's equity, it's the senior discount. It's at the end of the day, the way our program works is those bag prices cover the cost of disposal. So as I mentioned earlier, the pass costs $180. If we get rid of the bags, that price is going to go up significantly. So there's an effect on the program, but that's something we'll have to look at when we make that recommendation.
Oh, it should be interesting. I think we're also going to try and switch the dates, right? Do we go on a fiscal year now and we are thinking about switching to a calendar year?
We talked about that. Yeah, that's something we're going to look at as well. Absolutely.
And finally, I want to talk about trends. So you have always been, since you started here, incredibly knowledgeable when it comes to solid waste. I want to talk about the trends. And do you see more transfer stations in Massachusetts in the future? And do you see more locations where communities are able to bring material? Because I know you've talked about something called, is it airspace, JB?
Anaerobic?
No, airspace,
Yes. Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about those trends and what you see down the road 10 years from now?
Yeah, so it's such a detailed conversation in the trash world. So again, we talked about the China sword, where China stopped taking, recycling products. That really caused a problem here in the States. I think we've got over that. What we're seeing now is most of the landfills around this part of the country, New England, Massachusetts, are kind of starting to fill up. That's the airspace you're referring to, Melissa, where you only have so much volume left at a lot of these landfills. And what the impact is, if you're not using a facility like CMAS Covanta, like the Town of Plymouth, where we bring our trash, it gets shredded and it's generating energy, and basically it's burned. Everybody else's trash has to be shipped by rail outside of Mass. So it's going to Ohio, it's going, out west to other landfills. It's significant cost. So when you look at Plymouth, $85 a ton, you have municipalities in Massachusetts that are paying $150, $200 a ton because it's getting shipped out of state by rail. Mm. Those are significant costs to the residents, and that's the problem. And that's going to continue to evolve and increase costs, into the foreseeable future.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll have to keep doing work in that area. And then JB, airspace, when we talk about, is it Bourne where we talk about what they have left for airspace?
Yes, so Bourne has, again, limited capacity in terms of how they run their facility, and that's their volume. So they're taking in materials that generate revenue for them. So they can only take so much solid waste in, plus other type of materials, mostly aggregate, that fill their landfill. And they are trying to work with the DEP to expand that to take in more product. But Bourne is only one of a few left in Massachusetts. So it's such an interesting market.
Well, thank you, JB. I'm not going to take up any more of your time today, but once again, I appreciate it. And I know next week you will have on another division head.
Yes.
So we only have a couple more weeks featuring DPW, but your time has been really well spent. And I think it's been well received by the public.
Thank you.
Watching the show. So we are going to wrap up the show a little early today. I think just like many of you, we have a lot going on in Plymouth. If you ever have any questions or something you would like addressed on the show, please reach out to me. I'm always happy to cover it. Have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next time on Truth Be Told.